Greetings, everyone. I tried to make this into a separate video, but it started glitching out on me around the hour 33-minute mark, so I decided, since my video gaming content is usually by far the least popular content on my channel, with the exception of the Amiibo video and Fire Emblem Three Houses. That one just exploded in popularity overnight. I don't know what I had. But I'm going to be talking about the top 100. How do you make 100 with your hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The top 100 games I've reviewed. And so every list is subjective, of course. I highly doubt there's any of you that are going to 100%. See what I did there? Another 100 joke. I highly doubt any of you are going to 100% agree with my order, but I would like to know, of the games that I'm going to be mentioning over in that little chat box area, which games on my list have made yours? And if not, I hope that some of my picks, especially if they're, say, lower on the list and not as well known, maybe my list will inspire you to maybe pick up this game. If maybe you thought, oh, wow, maybe I should give that a try. So we are going to start with number 100. Box Boy plus Box Girl. So this is the fourth entry in the Box Boy series, which started... what is with this camera angle today? Okay, much better. So Box Boy started on the 3DS in 2015. And then when the final Box Boy game came out in 2017 and called itself Bye Bye Box Boy, I thought, well, I guess we're done with that ultra creative franchise. Well, Nintendo pulled a whopper on us and managed to bring their fourth installment onto the Switch, adding a female playable character and a two-player mode. But if that's too much for you, you can play the two-player mode in single-player mode, just switching off between Box Boy and Box Girl, or you can play with another player, and there's an entire single-player campaign that you can do on your own. Overall, it's a pretty quality experience no matter what you do. You play as a box that has two legs, and he can also create boxes. And at first, that's a pretty simple premise, but then eventually you can do other stuff like using boxes to burrow through dirt or making staircases with boxes. So it's very much a puzzle platformer as opposed to an action platformer. It was published by Nintendo, developed by HAL Laboratory. So it looks like an indie game. It plays like an indie game, but it's actually made by a major company. And it's pretty reasonably priced. So if you haven't played the games on the 3DS, this is a good place to start. So, number 99. Good thing I brought my list with me, because otherwise that would have been a disaster. Number 99 is a game I'm pretty sure none of you have heard of, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. It is Another Lost Phone, Laura's Story. So, on the Nintendo Switch, you can actually get this game in a pair. It's called Lost Phone Stories on the eShop, and it has both a normal Lost Phone plus the sequel, Another Lost Phone, Laura's Story. I didn't like normal Lost Phone, so I decided to review the sequel, Laura's Story, instead. And I found that it was a vastly superior experience. The premise is that you can actually hold your Switch sideways to make it look like an actual cell phone, and then you can use the touch screen to browse through the apps and swipe. And so you look at, say, her messages, her emails, and you have to figure out, who is this girl? Why did she drop her phone? And what is her story? What's going on that caused her to lose her phone? Was it an accident? Was it theft? And it's a very mature story. Definitely not a game that I would recommend to anyone watching this that might be, say, under the age of 17. But if you are mature enough to handle it, it deals into very heavy matters of abuse and isolation, especially sexual abuse and isolation. So if that's something that you've struggled with, or I believe it's also an eShop exclusive. It is on other platforms, but on the Switch, it feels like you're playing on a phone. That's really cool. And Coon style selection of music, even though I'm pretty sure none of them are actually licensed. I think they're all just made to feel they were licensed songs, but they were actually composed by the publishers, which are Accidental Means. Number 98. Ooh, this is a good one. Number 98, Pajama Sam, and Don't Fear the Dark. Now, the Pajama Sam games, I was a huge fan of basically those and all of the games Humongous Entertainment published throughout the 90s and a little bit of the early 2000s. They kind of tapered off in 2003, but from what I've heard, a lot of their old games are being re-released on Steam, and a few of them managed to make their way to the Wii in late 2000, like around 2007, 2009-ish. So Pajama Sam was one of the few that actually got the Wii treatment. And basically, for those of you that have never played a Humongous game or Pajama Sam series for that matter, it stars, excuse me, it stars a self-proclaimed, let me get a drink. It stars a self-proclaimed hero by the name of Pajama Sam, who fights against what he deems to be criminals in his pajamas. And he even has his own superhero gear. And most of his games take place within his imagination. So if he's thinking about food, there's an entire game that takes place on an island where everything is made out of food. Or if he's concerned about thunder and lightning, which was the premise of his second game, his imagination will show like the Worldwide Weather Center. It's really kind of cute, especially because the internet was like first starting to get developed when the second game came out. So the first game is Pajama Sam is Afraid of the Dark. So he gets his superhero gear that's based on his comic book superhero Pajama Man, and he goes to confront darkness. But as he's on the way to Darkness's lair, he gets captured by a bunch of talking trees and they steal his superhero gear. So Sam does not have the bravery to face darkness without all of that, so he goes on a quest to try to recover his valuables. And it's a point-and-click adventure game. You point the Wii remote at the screen to emulate how it was originally on the PC and Mac, so it emulates the pointer function. And so you basically just click where you want to go, click if you want to pick up an item, click if you want to talk to a character. And even if you're not clicking on something that's actually interactable, there are what are called click points, which I don't know of too many other games that do this. This is really cool. Like if you click on, say, something totally random in the environment, like a leaf, then they'll trigger a random animation. Sometimes there can be multiple animations per click point. And it's really cute, especially if you're OCD and just like clicking everywhere. You can also skip all of the cutscenes. You have 4 save files, which is kind of abysmal compared to how much the PC version has. And from what I heard from my sister-in-law, some of the events are not accessible, although she believed it was actually a glitch on her disc, because the original PC version had multiple different paths every time you played. So your superhero gear would sometimes be in different places in the environment. And apparently the Wii version didn't have all of those scenarios. Also, the Wii version is like basically an emulation of the PC version. So the screen small, the sound effects and music are very compressed. So it feels like you're playing a 1996 game because that's when the original came out. And they haven't really done pretty much anything to modernize it apart from a new title screen and pause menu. It's also very, very, very much geared towards very young children. Most of the games on this list are not. That one happens to be. So it's definitely a my first adventure kind of deal. I mean, I still love it, and I'm a grown man. So if you have, say, younger siblings or children, then I highly recommend Pajama Sam. Full of imagination, and then if you're, I don't know, a Steam person, not a Nintendo only guy like or girl like me, then pretty much all of his games are on Steam, so check them out. Number 97 is wait, what? I think I deleted one of the games on this list. Oh, never mind, my eyes just jumped. Number 97. Spy Fox in dry cereal. So I placed these two pretty much side by side because they were made by the same company and they use the same engine. So the cursor that appears when you point the Wii remote at the screen literally is exactly the same. A lot of the ways in which you control the game are pretty much identical. You still point where you want to go. There's still those animations if you click on random stuff. But what sets Spy Fox apart is that it's for slightly older kids, like closer to the age of 11 or 12, as opposed to like the 6 to 8-year-olds that Pajama Sam was for. And you control a secret agent who's a fox in a tuxedo, who's, according to my sister, usually kind of mean to people. But it's usually in like this very dry, sarcastic way. And even though he does, collect items and use them to solve puzzles, he also can interrogate people about certain subjects. Like he can say, "What do you know about Russian blue?" And he also can get spy gadgets. But the cool thing is that you can only carry 4 at a time. So it's a little bit of micromanaging in a kid's game. The story is that um, William T. Goat is trying to steal all of the milk in the world because he wants everyone to drink only goat's milk. So Spy Fox is trying to both rescue the cows that he's abducted and bring back the milk so that people don't have to eat dry cereal. Pretty hilarious, very, very simple. Again, this is not aimed toward the graphic that Kappa approves of. But like I said, even adults can still have a blast with that game. And it has its own like separate mini game that you can play if you don't like the main story, where you use the Wii remote to like shoot things Galaga style. So even if you don't like point and click games, it's basically a cheap version of Galaga. And again, if you like Spy Fox and Dry Cereal, I highly suggest checking out the rest of his games on Steam because he also has a stellar list of adventures. Next up, number 96. Super Mario 64. So Super Mario 64 was my 200th review. Yay. And it was also the first video game I ever owned. So it was like jumping into a whole new world because the first true video game I ever played was Super Mario Brothers. The first actual video game I played was Putt Putt Joins the Parade, which was on the PC and Mac. But Super Mario Brothers was the first video game because we kind of considered computer games and video games to be a separate thing. So 64 came along. The fact that you could move around in a 3D space, control the camera, and getting a star didn't make you invincible, but was actually a goal point, was really cool. I always loved games that let you explore a lot, and Super Mario 64 felt like the first natural by saying, "Whoa, I can just run around the castle. There's no timer. There's no enemies. I can just explore, read the sign." The wonderfully synthetic breeze. Oh, dear me. Oh, dear me. Is that why people aren't able to watch this? Hold on a sec. Not here.